power, policy, and the economics of global tourism. You can adjust the language according to your preference. Choose the program that suits your needs from the playlist. Customize the subtitle position on your laptop, and adjust the video speed with the slider to suit your needs and comfort. Let's grow together through your subscribe and like on this video.
At this critical juncture, tourism policy often becomes polarized. Parliamentary factions engage in partisan maneuvering, each attempting to outstrip the other in rhetorical flourish. Debate devolves into polemic rather than principled deliberation. In such an atmosphere, substantive reform risks being overshadowed by political pugilism. Some leaders adopt a patronizing tone toward critics, dismissing their concerns as puerile. Others prevaricate when confronted with evidence of perfidious procurement practices. When corruption scandals surface, the response may be perfunctory rather than profound. Investigative journalists frequently log discrepancies between projected revenue and actual net benefit. Their reports reveal a paucity of equitable distribution and a proliferation of proxy contracts awarded through opaque channels. When such findings become public, officials may attempt to mollify outrage with token reforms. In certain regimes, tourism development is propelled by magnates who wield considerable puissance. Their influence can permeate every echelon of administration. If governance becomes overly obsequious to corporate interests, public trust erodes. Moreover, tourism policy does not operate in isolation. It exists within a broader paradigm of economic governance. When that paradigm is myopic, short-term gains may be prioritized over sustainable prosperity. Leaders predisposed toward prodigal expenditure risk precipitate fiscal decline. Environmental degradation compounds these challenges. Coastal construction may occlude natural waterways. Wetlands may become pathogenic breeding grounds. Without meticulous planning, ecosystems reach a nadir from which recovery is arduous. At times, officials attempt to palliate environmental criticism through cosmetic adjustments. They may plant token trees or issue lachrymose statements of regret. Nevertheless, such gestures rarely obviate systemic failure. Public sentiment can oscillate rapidly. During economic expansion, leaders are lionized. When revenue streams plummet, the same figures become pariahs. Political fortunes are mercurial, shifting with each quarterly report. In moments of crisis, governments may jettison prior commitments and adopt makeshift measures. Emergency levies are imposed. Subsidies are pared. Regulations are amended in haste. These precipitous decisions can exacerbate instability rather than mitigate it. The tourism workforce itself is often peripatetic and precarious. Seasonal employees peregrinate from region to region, seeking modest income. When demand falters, they are the first to experience penury. Civil unrest may not be immediate, but dissatisfaction can kindle latent resentment. If governance is perceived as mendacious or phony, the social contract weakens. Protest movements may propagate through digital platforms with prodigious speed. Opposition leaders sometimes exploit this discontent. Through orotund speeches and lurid imagery, they cast tourism policy as a symbol of broader governmental failure. Yet their critiques may be equally overwrought and lacking nuance. The responsible path requires prudent recalibration. Policymakers must posit realistic scenarios and adopt optimal regulatory frameworks. They must preempt further decline by addressing structural inequities rather than peripheral symptoms. International investors, meanwhile, assess risk with perspicacious scrutiny. They analyze the political milieu, the stability of contracts, and the probity of regulatory agencies. Where transparency is patent and governance principled, capital flows are more propitious. Conversely, where contracts are obsolete or interpreted in an oblique manner, confidence dissipates. Investors grow leery of environments characterized by machination and duplicity. In some contexts, cultural heritage is commodified in a meretricious fashion. Traditional performances are reduced to pastiche. Sacred rituals are repackaged for commercial consumption. Such practices may generate nominal profit, but erode intrinsic value. A sustainable alternative emphasizes community participation. Cooperative tourism ventures can offset inequality and foster equitable growth. These models are not utopian. They require meticulous oversight and pragmatic leadership. Nevertheless, they demonstrate that tourism need not be synonymous with plutocracy. With judicious policy and principled governance, even modest initiatives can yield non-trivial benefits. The broader lesson is clear. Tourism reform cannot rely on platitude or pious declaration. It must confront pernicious structures, negate corrupt incentives, and cultivate a paradigm rooted in probity. Only then can the sector transcend its precarious oscillation between exuberance and nadir. Tourism today is no longer a quotidian industry. It is a dynamic force that shapes economies, cultures, and political choices. What once seemed quiescent has become a sector at the zenith of global attention. Policymakers no longer indulge in quixotic dreams of growth without limits. Instead, they face a synoptic view of sustainability, equity, and regulation. As a seasoned raconteur, this documentary recounts how tourism economies reap opportunity while navigating vicissitude and volatility. The story is not rare ed theory, but grounded in terrestrial realities, jobs, taxes, and social cohesion. At this juncture, governments must resolve a policy quandary. Should regulation be Spartan or expansive? Excessive usury through taxes can undermine investment, whereas lax oversight invites transgression. A sagacious state adopts remedial frameworks prepared to rescind failed incentives and redress social harm. This is not tendentious politics, but principled governance. Tourism can yoke prosperity to preservation, but only through symbiosis with local culture. When mass tourism becomes wanton, communities grow restive. Cultural norms risk being sullied, leaving a stigma that lingers. Yet, when policies are salubrious, tourism becomes a verdant force, fostering pride and solidarity rather than resentment. Unchecked tourism risks sliding into plutocracy, where elites monopolize access and influence. Small enterprises are relegated to the margins, while multinational interests supplant local ownership. A fair system must stipulate transparency, ensuring benefits are viable and not merely nominal. Crises reveal how volatile tourism truly is. Demand can plummet, leaving workers in torpor. Recovery requires timely intervention and synchronous coordination between the state and market. Those who merely vacillate lose momentum. Those who act become the vanguard of renewal.